All right, here I am. It's me talking about something. So what's up, guys? I'm going to turn this down a little bit. So I'm going to be talking about some things today. Just I think it's funny because of some interesting things I'm going to talk about today. But first, I want to get some stuff out of the way. So if you're watching me on YouTube, please make sure to like, subscribe, smash that bell so that you can get the notifications whenever I pop up, which should be sometime this afternoon. And I want to thank a bunch of people. I'm going to do this right out the gate because I got some listeners on the audio podcast through Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. So I had some people listen in New York. Thank you, New York. I had some people listen in Colorado. Thank you, Colorado. And of course, I got a ton of listeners out here in California. So just want to say thank you. Continue to listen, and let me tell you something. If you're getting something out of whatever it is that I'm doing here, then please make sure to share it. Make sure to like it, and really, if you want me to talk about something, which is what I do, so I just talk about stuff, right? Feel free to comment in the comment sections on all three platforms. I get all that information, and I would love to hear what you have to say. So make sure to do that. And here we go. Are you ready? I'm ready. So I go to church a lot, obviously. It seems to be what really this podcast is heading towards, the things that I like, that are on my heart to just talk about. And one of the things I always hear in church is this. It's it's a leave your past behind and never do it again. Your past does not constitute your future. You know, these kinds of things are great motivational lines and things like that. And so I think about that sometimes, and I go, well, you know, if we don't learn from our past, we'll continue in it. That's a true statement. We'll just continue to do those things. And so the reality is that is a true statement. But really what you need to do is actually learn what caused you to have problems in the past so that you can fix them, quote unquote. I'm doing air quotes if you're listening to me. Is to actually fix those things that are back there so that you can move forward and do something new. So it's one thing to learn from your past. It's another thing to leave it behind and use what you learned to actually shape your future. If you fall down 7 times, get back up on the 8th time and keep on going. We've all heard that one, right? So we learn, use, let go, and move forward. Don't look down. Now, I think that's a funny statement. Don't look down. Usually it's don't look back. But what happens when you come to a cliff? Ever seen those movies where the actors are like running? No, somebody's behind me. I've got to run, and I'm trying to save my life. And they come up on this cliff, or this bridge, or some kind of weird like tightrope, is some weird thing out of nowhere. And now you got to watch these guys. And one of the first things they say is, "Don't look down." And what's the first thing they do? They look down. There you go. They look down. And they're like, wow, I'm never going to make it across this bridge. And then eventually somebody says, let's go. And then they all go across the bridge, and they get about halfway, and somebody always freaks out. No, I can't get past the bridge. I'm halfway across the bridge. No. And then they say, don't look back, right? It's kind of like those guys, you hear these kinds of things. I swam halfway to the island. Then I got scared, and I turned around and swam back. Well, if you were halfway there, it would have only been halfway, which means you would have swam the whole thing, right? So when you think about these kinds of things, I don't know where I'm going today, but if you think about these kinds of things, it's really what happens to you when you get to a point where you get nervous, or you get afraid, or you get worried, and you don't know where you're going to go next. And that's when you actually have to take that step of faith and say, I'm going to go ahead and go through this anyway. And basically that's when God actually refines you. Wow, just think of that for a second. That's where God actually refines you. That's when he puts you in the fire. It's when you're doing something that you've never done before. It's when you're stepping into something new. That's when you turn around, and you might turn around and look back and go, well, last time I just quit and everything was okay. Well, this isn't last time, this is this time. Let me say that again. This isn't last time, this is this time. So this time, you get back on the horse and you continue across the bridge. You step gingerly onto the planks of the rickety bridge. You catch your balance on the tightrope. You do what you got to do to get to the other side of that bridge. And it's funny, Malachi talks about the refiner's fire in the Bible, and he says this, but who can endure the day of his coming? And who can stand when he appears? For he is like a refiner's fire and a laudaners soap. He will sit as a refiner and a purifier of silver. He will purify the sons of Levi and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer to the Lord an offering in righteousness. Well, what is refining? I mean, you guys all watch YouTube videos. You're watching me right now, if you're watching on YouTube, and you see these guys, they take they melt the aluminum and they make cool designs and stuff, but they always have to scoop off this junk that rises to the top, right? So they got to scoop that junk out, because whenever something is refined, all the junk rises to the top, and then all that has to come off in order for the gold or the silver or whatever it is that you're actually refining and making better. All the junk has to go away in order for the pure gold to be recognized. And that's usually when you find yourself in a situation where you're scared, you're nervous, you don't know what to do, you don't know what direction to go to, and most people will stop at that point, and then they end up not being pure in the direction that they're headed, and you move the wrong way, and then that's when you fall off the bridge, or when you have to catch the tightrope, and then that's when God actually reaches down and says, okay, come on, let's go, and catches the what's that old adage where, these are those single footprints where he carried me, right? But you're continuing to move forward. So the trick here is when you realize you have to realize when you're in a position like that. You have to realize when you're in a spot and it's time to be refined in that thing. You have to realize when, oh man, I'm sitting in this section right now. Oh, what do I do? Do I look back? Do I look down? Do I look forward? Well, the key is to look forward. You're not necessarily severing off your past. The reality is you're actually getting ready to step into the fire. You're getting ready to step into refinement, and you're getting ready to do something new. So that's when you actually make those step forwards and you actually go into the next thing. And you might look back and go, well, last time I was here, last time I was here, what did I do? If you quit, that's when you don't quit. If you stuttered, that's when you don't stutter. If you had an issue, because you're learning from that thing that you did before. So you learn, you use it, right? You learn, use, let go, and move forward. So you learn from that thing that you did last time you were in this position, because the devil doesn't change. He puts you in the same position over and over again because he just doesn't want you to move forward with God. That's just the way he is. He's here to kill, steal, and destroy. Boom, right? So you learn from it. You go, okay, this is what I used to do. What am I going to do now? So now I've taken that knowledge. I'm going to input that knowledge, and now I'm going to attempt to move forward. Then you use that knowledge. Okay, now I've got this knowledge. What am I going to do with it in order to get to the next closest section of the bridge? And then you let go. You take that deep breath. You go, I have faith in God. I'm going to let go. I'm going to give this to God. And then you start to move into that thing and into the direction that God has for you to go. And that's when you don't look down, because now you found focus. And learning, using, and letting go actually drives you into focus to move forward with the thing that God has for you to do. So the refining fire, the burning, things have to come off of you. Things have to get shed from you. Things have to get removed so that you can actually go, okay, I got this thing. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to shake it off, and I'm just going to continue to move forward. So he does that. He will purify the sons of Levi and purge them as gold and silver, because they had something to do. They had something great to do. They had something that they had to get going and move forward with. And so therefore, it had to be refined. God is constantly refining us, and he utilizes our past so that we can learn from it. Now, I know we probably don't want to go back. If you were in addiction and things like that, you look at that and go, I had to do this. Let me put it this way. I got a couple minutes here. So I used to drink very heavily, okay? Some might say alcoholic levels. I say, I drank a lot, right? And I had to, in order to quit doing that, and actually now I have issues with it now. When people drink around me, I'm like, man, why do you do that? There's no purpose in that. Because God actually showed me, he didn't show me the fun. When I looked back at that past, all I can see is me in a toilet. All I can see is me with a headache. All I can see is all the pain that came with it. And then that's when I went, well, I don't need to be doing that. So I had to look at it from a different perspective, because a lot of people go, yeah, remember when we used to do this and we used to do that? It was so much fun. Well, what was the reality of that? So I had to look at the reality of my drinking issues and look back at that and go, okay, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. Does that mean I don't have a beer? No, sometimes I have a beer. Oh, but you're a Christian, you can't drink at all. Well, no, I'm not going to drink to excess until I die, because that's what I learned, right? So now I just don't do that. Does that make sense to you guys? I had to move forward in that situation. So if you're looking back at like an addiction, Look at what it caused. Look at what the issues were. Look at where the family life was. Look at those kinds of things, and then learn from it. Then you use that. Oh man, I can't do that because this is what will happen. Then I let go of it. Oh, I can let go of my past now. I can move forward in this thing, and then I can move forward, and I'm not going to ever look back, and I'm not ever going to look down, because I'm going to be a changed person, and I'm going to move forward and do great things, because God is constantly refining me and making me better and moving me forward and taking all that junk off the top. And that's really how we learn from our past, instead of just cutting it off. I cut my past off and yes, you're a new creation. When you receive Jesus, you're a new creation. You move forward with that, but you always have something that just lingers. And getting rid of that thing that lingers is going to make all the difference in the world, and learning from that thing that lingers, using it to get you to the next level, and letting go and giving it to God and moving forward and not looking down is just going to get you to the direction that you need to go. So I just want to say thank you again to everybody that hangs out with me and that hangs out with me when I do this thing. And if you can continue to listen, like, share, subscribe, do whatever you got to do, push all the buttons, do all the stuff, and make sure to go to church on Sunday. If your church is open, get there, make the reservation, get in a seat, get in worship. Don't forget to sing. If you're in California, sing, praise God, glorify God, do that stuff. Get there and do it. And if you're going to watch online, wherever your church is online, YouTube, Facebook, and all that kind of stuff, make sure to get there, be a part of it, and learn and get the new things that God is giving us through our pastors. And have a great afternoon, have a great evening, and have a great morning, depending on when you listen to this. And ride on, ride on.